After Dark is starting shortly. Lab After Dark is starting soon. Lab After Dark is starting soon.
Right.
Well, you opened that Pandora's door.
I was actually just sitting down to pee, but whatever, you know.
What's the point in causing these ruckus?
Lab After Dark starts now.
What's up? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Lab After Dark. I'm your host, Joshua Disney. I was muted there for a second. I don't know why. But there's sound now. I apologize about that. I don't know. It just said. It said. Hold on. All right, I got you. I got it. All right. That should be better. Hopefully. All right. Anyway. Welcome to Lab After Dark. Sorry about that. Nice rough beginning, but it wouldn't be Lab After Dark unless we had, you can hear there's only one dog snoring. That's Macho. Otis makes no sound. He's basically a mute most of the time. Sometimes he decides to bark a little. Although he did growl at me again the other day when I had to wash his feet because I don't know. He'll traipse through anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And so sometimes I have to do that for him, it's a pain. He's a pain. He's a major pain. But he's so cute. And that's really what separates him and Macho, is that like I find them incredibly cute. So there's a lot of stuff that I guess I'm willing to put up with, but I prefer not to put up with it, but I have to. So, and but anyway, let's see. We got 1988. He likes being wild and free. He is very wild and very free to do whatever he wants. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and it's a pain in the ass. He's a pain in the ass. I can't mince words. I have to tell you the truth. It's okay. My Siberian Husky holds me hostage. Yeah, it's like every day. Oh yeah, I forget. Is she a pain in the butt too? Holly, good to see you. Elise, see here. Why'd that move here? Alicia, good to see you. Baby kisses. He's getting senile. Me? I am? Probably. You're probably right. Faye, what's happening? And Lori, great call the other night. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That was fun. I'm in a barrel. I could see that. Pink Rose, good to see you. I can't. Uh-oh. Did you think I was going to melt down? I only melt down when I can't figure out the solution. That's when the meltdown happens. I don't know why my son is calling me. He always does this. I don't know where hold on. Hey, I'm on the air. What's happening? On the air. Are you all right? All right. Sorry about that. Time is it? Goodness gracious. I apologize. I always have to answer when my kids call. You know. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a 4 hour. You know, right before that show, I did. I did 4.5, almost 5 miles. And I walked like two or three of those and ran the other one, which was like by far I'd say by far, but it was like the most that I had done. And then sitting after that, like I specifically, I figured that our show would run a little long because sometimes those shows do. The shows run slightly long sometimes. It is what it is, and I accept it, and I'm all right with it. However, so I did the 40 miles or 4.5 or whatever the frig it was. And I was sitting there for that 4 hours or whatever it was. And oh my God, my calves tensed up so badly that I was laying on the floor with my legs or my feet against the wall. And it was miserable for like an hour or so. I was just like, oh my God. So anyway, I never had that happen before quite like that, but sitting for 4 hours is not like, it doesn't behoove you to do that. Well, I was hydrated. I was all that stuff. It was just that, just the too much sitting was what it was. And it put a lot of, it was absolutely miserable for a while, but I maintained and I managed and, I survived just fine. Just fine. But still, getting under the table foot massager to vibrate your feet. I have one, actually. I have one of those, and I also have like one of those massage guns. Those things are fantastic too. But yeah, I really had to use that massage gun. I had to go in, and it hurt too. Yeah. It was a pain in the butt. Let's see. Imagine getting those cramps suddenly hit your entire body. That's what I endure. Living with multiple sclerosis, from shoulder to toe. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine that. Seems awful, but no, everything's fine. I'm fine, and so anyway, it's good to be here. It's good to see you guys. Let me see here. Great show with Dr. Gary. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a good show. We had a good time. A lot of good calls. A lot of good discussions. I always feel very rude, when I have to cut them. Well, not cut them off. I would say cut them off 4 hours. I'm not built for 4 hour streams. I'm just not. I'm not built like that. I don't know why. I'm just not. 4 hour streams are just like, I'll do them, but I'm not, it's not my thing. I don't know. I see people doing 6, 7, 8 hour live. I have no idea how people do that. I don't get it. Like, what could you possibly have to say for that long about anything at all? And the people that watch it's crazy. I mean, it's not like you're watching like a TV show. You're usually listening to some boring dolt ramble on about somebody else or something else, or I don't know. I mean, there's not a show that I could listen to for that long. I don't think so. Not without some sort of like break, you know. I don't know. People do it though. And maybe I'm just I don't know. Maybe I'm just a wuss. I have no idea. I don't even think I would like to do them, even if I could, even if it was something that I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. I don't know. It doesn't seem cool to me. It seems like a lot. I have headphones in and do things around the house. 4 hours didn't seem that long to me. Well, yeah, you know, that's to me, that's a little different, I guess. I listen to things throughout the day too. It's not that I don't. I just like the same. But 4 hours is like my max. I think I did 5 hours one time. But there are people that do that every single day, and I have no idea how they do it. I'm not impressed by it, but I'm curious about it. I go, wow, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. I don't envy it, but people do it. They do it often, so. Anxiety is too much. You're having anxiety. You're having anxiety tonight. Gutter Snipe. Hi, Josh and chat. Maybe some magnesium would help. Josh, I've had some success with that. No, I think the only reason was because of the sitting or the working out and then just the sitting after that. That was really what I meant. It doesn't really, I don't know if I'm lacking any. I'm sure I am, but who knows? Who knows? But I didn't have anything to do. It's not like low magnesium, low anything. It was that it's just from sitting my calves. They were just like, I had to move. I had to move. Let me see here. So yeah, anyway, that was that. That was fun. Potassium helps me. Yeah, banana, stuff like that. All that stuff is good for you, I guess. I have a broken foot, so I rested it while listening to you and stitched on some needlework to relax. Actually does sound relaxing, even though I don't know how to do any of that kind of stuff. I wish I did, though. I always wanted to sew, like be able to sew, like at least for buttons. But now I don't really wear many shirts with buttons. And like if a button pops off of a shirt for any reason, and I know they have like the two at the bottom, like the spares or whatever, or some do. I don't know. The shirt's done for me. It's over. It's just done. But if I knew how to sew, it wouldn't have to be like that. I don't even ask anybody. I don't. Hey, can you sew this for me? Never. It's done. Buttons should not pop. I mean, unless you're pushing the limit of it. Unless you're this like enormous bastard, which has happened to me before. But the shirt's still done. It's over. Done with it. It's like a casualty of the streets. It's like one of your gang member friends. You're just like, well, I know I'm heavy, but I'm going to put this shirt through hell and maybe it'll come. It'll survive. Nah, I'm too old to learn how to sew. I don't want to. I don't want to bother anybody with buttons. I don't want to bother anybody with my button issues. Like I said, when a button falls off, the shirt's done. Now, that's depending. Now, if a button falls off at the top, and I don't have to have it Vato Loco'd up to my throat, with a tie, then maybe it can stay. But anything, if it's the second button and I'm not going chest out, I'm not doing that. But anything below the first button, shirt's done. Over. Sayonara. C'est la vie. Adios, amigo. Done. Done with it. I don't need that shit. It's not worth it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not, as much as I've had shirts that I'm not going chest out. I'm not the chest out guy with the gold rope, Pink Rose, if you look closely to how a button is put on the thread pattern, it's self-explanatory. I don't even know what that means. And I'm sure it is. I'm just not that smart of a person. I mean, if I was smarter, maybe I could understand it. But I just, like I hear what you're saying. I'm reading what you're saying. Read it again. If you look closely to how a button is put on the thread pattern, it's self-explanatory. I still don't know what that means, and I wish that I did. I wish I knew. I don't. I have no idea. Maybe in another life, maybe if I was a little smarter. Like, I get it. I mean, you go boom, 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 Like, there's 4 little holes. I get the 4 holes. I get that. I do. I understand that. Through 1, 2. Why am I going to I'm not going to donate a shirt that's missing a button. What could I donate it to? Who the hell would want my missing button shirt? Nobody's going to want that, are they? Donated where? No, I just need to. I need to rid it. I don't even have. I don't like the last. I don't even know. I don't even know if I have I might not even have a button-up shirt at this point in my life. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure I do, but I would just prefer not to, but that's all right. Mystic Firefly says, Josh, there are a lot of YouTube videos you can watch to learn how to sew. That's true. I'm not going to, though, because I don't want to. When I used to have to tie, I was like, so in 7th grade, excuse me, when Peyton was in 7th grade, he was on the school basketball team, and it was like a big deal. Like there was like 150 kids that tried out for this team, and only 12 made it. It was pathetic. Like it was ridiculous that they didn't have more than one team per, it just, it really taught, kids to quit, to never try out again, but anyway, he made the team, and there's this coach, his name was Ruben. He looked like a Lego. I don't know how else to explain his build, but he was like he was, and then his head, I mean, he actually looked like a Lego. Very symmetrical stuff going on there. And so he was built like, I swear to God, it was, and he was a terrible coach, and he was terrible at sports. I think he was good at frisbee golf. I think he was a good frisbee golfer. Other than that, but he didn't know basketball or anything. He was terrible, absolutely terrible. And but he had this rule that on game days that the kids had to wear a tie, like slacks and a tie, which just drove me nuts. It was just like, are you kidding me? And he would wear tie. He was like a PE teacher at the school. Yeah, he just looked like a complete douche nozzle. It was awful. It was terrible stuff. And yeah, it was just dumb, stupid. Well, look, I didn't really know how to tie a tie on somebody else, but I would watch I would watch YouTube videos on how to do it over and 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 over. So every morning twice a week for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 weeks, I was trying to tie Peyton's tie while he stood in front of me. And it was a pain in the ass. I hated it. I have bought each of my son's sewing machines all day. Tying a tie on yourself is hard enough, but tying a tie on somebody else is, and he's like, I can't wear a clip on because everybody will make fun of me. And I was like, everybody's going to make fun of you anyway. Who cares? Why are they going to make fun of me? I don't know. Just who cares? It's like embrace it. I was like, dude, no, I can't wear a clip-on tie. No, why not? because no. And by the way, half of the other kid, maybe more, were wearing clip-on ties. Some of them wear clip-on bow ties. No, no, no. He could have, I mean, you know, he could have just made it easier. I don't want to. I don't want to. Such a little crybaby. So anyway, we would spend a lot of time tying ties. You know. Yeah, clip-on bow ties. What's up, Lulu? Good to see you. Yeah, but I mean, well, I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him, and I didn't agree with him at all. Because it was, I mean, it was a pain in the ass. And I kept saying, well, if you want to wear a tie, then you're going to have to learn how to tie it. He hasn't, like, wore at, you know, his wedding, but other than that, there was no more, I don't think that he's worn a tie since 7th grade. That was the first time that he'd worn a tie, like, unless it's been to a wedding. I'm sure he was handsome. Very show you. And I tied them terribly, but I'm sure I have a photo somewhere I can pull up really quick. He was very handsome, and it was absolutely wonderful. Boom, 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 boom. Where is he? I know I have one on my Instagram. I was very proud of myself. Very proud of the tie that I tied. Okay, that's not the one. That's not the one. That's not the one either. Maybe I don't have one. I thought I did. What the hell? Maybe it's on my Facebook. Hold on. I gotta show you. I gotta show you the tie. Photos. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Maybe not. Maybe it was destined. Oh shit! Here it is. Look at this photo. It'd kill me. Look at this thing. Look at the tie. It's so bad. Night, Patty. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Look at that. Very cute. Very handsome. Very handsome. Good days. Good days. Once again, it's 7 a.m. Look, we did it. We did it. I just, we did it. It was great. And then I look, at the time, it's very annoying, and we would like argue, like, hold still, it looks like crap. And no question, it did sometimes. But you look back and you go, that was fun. You miss those days. You look back and you go, damn. You miss them. You take them for granted. There's not a lot that I wouldn't give up to be able to do that again. Wake up and tie a tie with your kids. I don't know. the middle school years sucked. Yeah, sometimes they did. Sometimes they were really bad, but a redo would be nice. A redo would be really nice. I miss watching my boys play football. I miss watching my kids play sports too. Thank you. Yeah, he's a very, very handsome young man. Still very handsome. This is a good one. This is right after Peyton hit his first home run. That was a good one, too. You had all girls? That's rough. That is rough. I'm so glad, like, that I didn't have any girls, because I wouldn't know how to, I would not have known how to raise them, to be honest with you, at all. I'm sure I would have learned. I'm sure I would have figured it out, but Rosie, you were meant to be a boy mom. God knew what he was doing. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I don't think I would have been very good at it. I don't know. I mean, as protective of my sons as I was, I couldn't imagine how protective I would have been of a daughter, you know. Oh my God, look at this one. Look at this. Look at that. That's Ronell when he was playing third base. I was so proud. Look at him. Look at that. Heads up. That's a heads up ball player right there. I'm gonna send that to him right now. 2013. Wow. Those were the days, man. It was awesome. I mean, like I said, I coached all those teams, and we just had such a blast. And yeah, I wish I wish that those days were they didn't end so fast, you know. I had one of each. The good old days, yep. Let's see what he thinks about this photo. I don't know, he probably hasn't even seen it in a long time. But anyway, so enough of memory lane. Queen of Hearts, I have 3 girls, 2 boys. 3 girls, 2 boys. I have 2 children. I have 2 boys. 2 boys. And then I have Otis and Macho. So 4, I guess, but 2 children. 2 children. They're very blessed with. I'm sure some of you had heard this, but this guy who he was grave robbing out of Pennsylvania. I mean, this is a crazy story. That he had over 100 different people's human remains in his house. He was breaking into mausoleums and I mean, what do you do with a guy like that? I mean, I know you put him in jail, but how long? Forever? I mean, what do you do with somebody like that? I've never heard of anything. I mean, I've heard of some crazy stuff, but God, he dug up 200-year-old grave. I know. Like I've never heard anything quite like it. Holy crap, that was nuts. What a scary story. I heard some of them were like even like infant remains, and I mean it's unfathomable, to be honest with you. This guy's a freak. Here, I'll play let me play a little bit of this. And
walked into a horror movie.
If this is Jesse Weber, I'm going to be pissed.
We come to life the other night, guys. Quite literally.
Yeah, the reason that he did it was for his own gratification. To be honest, I guess it was. And then he was selling some of the stuff too, displaying it and selling it.
None of them have ever seen anything like this before.
A tip about a disturbing basement display straight out of a horror movie led police to a discovery so extreme that investigators say it was a real-life horror film. Hundreds of human skulls and skeletal remains allegedly taken from desecrated graves. Authorities say the evidence points to an online market for human bones and to 34-year-old Jonathan Gerlach, accused of turning the dead into a collection.
I mean, people take this shit way too far. Way too far. And I'm telling you right now, he's lucky that he's not free, because I guarantee you there is some really pissed off and upset relatives. I mean, I would be livid.
We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
It's not Jesse Weber.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to talk about something that frankly is scary to talk about. And it's not being there for your realm of normal investigation. Different. Because someone began...
What's that? What is that nose ring called?
Breaking in, but it wasn't to steal jewelry or valuables. Now, we have seen that happen in cemeteries before. It's always despicable, but this case is different because this person was allegedly stealing the dead. According to police, mausoleums and underground vaults, some holding remains over a century old, they were smashed open and emptied over the course of 2 months. And by late December, detectives from the Yeadon Police Department were piecing together clues. There were energy drink cans that were left at the scene.
Septum. What kind of a dude has a septum ring or piercing?
A tent stake that was purchased by a suspect. There were license plate reader hits. So it seemed like they were closing in on who was breaking into this cemetery. And their investigation led them to a quiet home in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and to a 34-year-old man.
I'm not saying that you can't, but I mean, I don't know.
Named Jonathan Gerlach. And what they allege that they found inside that house.
A nose ring is one thing, but like you putting like a cow ring on your nose.
House in Lancaster County, it has been described by seasoned law enforcement officials as something straight out of a horror film. It was a tip that helped crack this case wide open. According to a police affidavit, an acquaintance came forward in December and they said a relative of Jonathan Gerlach had confided in them about seeing something horrifying in Gerlach's basement. The affidavit states that the relative described, quote, a partially decomposed corpse hanging like a display. They said that the body was tied under the shoulders. Now, this
Oh
tip
my God. What the hell? Wow, bro. Come on. Like, what do you do with somebody like this? What do you do with them? What do you do? Can somebody tell me what you would do? I don't know. Like, does he need to be in prison for the rest of his life? I think I mean, he has no respect for people, humans, dead or alive. I mean, I can't imagine.
titled Corpse in Basement
Oh my God.
was the thread detectives started to pull. And as they pulled, Gerlach's own digital
With arms wide open under this. That's actually Creed's way too cool for that. Frig off this guy.
world offered a disturbing backdrop. Now, police say his Instagram followed over 500 accounts dedicated to taxidermy,
God.
skeleton collecting, oddities, and bone museums. And they found him in a Facebook group that was titled Human Bones and Skull Selling Group. Now,
How does that not get flagged? I mean, like, I get in trouble if I say the wrong thing on YouTube. How does this not get flagged? Meta AI? Come on.
we found this group as well, and it is a public Facebook group where people are selling and trading the bones, presumably of human beings. I didn't even know this was legal. I don't even know
It's not legal.
if this is legal, and we'll talk more about that as this episode continues on. Now, there is a post in that group from October 2025
My God, dude.
that thanked Gerlach and mentioned adding a, quote, possible teen now in the collection. And on a cold January night, police say they watched Gerlach emerge from the darkened cemetery carrying a burlap sack. And when they moved in and arrested him, they looked inside that bag. According to the arrest affidavit, they found the mummified remains of 2 small children, 3 skulls, and other bones. And that arrest led to a search warrant for his home. And what police say they discovered in the basement of 100 Washington Avenue is the kind of scene that haunts investigators. Just reading it haunts you to an extent. Now, I want you to listen here to the Delaware County District Attorney describing that discovery at a news conference.
Detectives walked into a horror movie come to life the other night, guys. This is an unbelievable scene that no one involved, from myself to the detectives to the medical examiners that are now trying to piece together what they are looking at, quite literally.
You don't.
None of them have ever seen anything like this before.
Wow. So
You don't. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, when you're they're so far gone. I mean, okay, did you know that this was wrong? Yes. Did it anyway. Yes. Like, the guy was obviously like addicted to this kind of stuff. I don't say unalived and puke.
So this all starts with a cemetery that frankly has seen better days. Mount Moriah is massive. It's 160 acres. It's home to an estimated 150,000 graves. And because it's so big and partially abandoned, it became a target. And according to the district attorney, from November 2025 right up until early January, someone was breaking into the sealed family mausoleums and the underground burial vaults. Now, the district attorney laid out the sheer scale at that news conference.
Underground burial vaults.
26 separate mausoleums and or underground burial sites have been.
See, that guy knows how to tie a tie. You know what I'm saying? Like, his tie is pristine. That's a good tie tied. That's a good tie.
Torn into and, for lack of a better word, desecrated.
26 different times in the dead of night, police say that caskets were being broken into to steal human remains. And for weeks, it was a mystery. But then police say old-fashioned detective work and a high-tech assist started to point them in a direction. They identified a suspect vehicle, a burgundy Toyota RAV4 that started showing up on license plate readers near the cemetery at exactly the times that these break-ins were happening. And that car was registered to Jonathan Gerlach, who lived over an hour away in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Now, at the same time, that bizarre tip comes in about a body in a basement. And when detectives look at Gerlach's social media, as the DA put it, it doesn't strike me as a coincidence. Now, they set up surveillance, and on January 6th, they say that they caught up with Gerlach in the act. The district attorney described it like this.
Yaden deserves a hell of a lot of credit on this for doing good old-fashioned police work, going through LPRs, tracking physical evidence, piecing together a suspect, cooperating with CID. We developed that suspect, we laid in wait, and we eventually watched.
He looks like somebody from System of a Down or something.
And caught Mr. Gerlach as he desecrated yet another monument as recently as 2 days ago.
Gerlach was arrested, they say, with a crowbar and a burlap bag full of bones. And now at this point, detectives say they knew about the cemetery break-ins, they had their suspect, but they had no idea, according to the district attorney, what they were about to walk into at his home. With Gerlach in custody, they executed a search warrant at his home in Lancaster County, and that is when the single cemetery case exploded into something else entirely. They weren't just looking at the evidence from Mount Moriah. What they had found, according to the DA, was a collection.
Search warrants were executed at his home in Ephrata, where over 100 human skeletons were recovered. And that's in part, at this point, we are still trying to figure out how many of those are complete.
There were little kid remains. Like somebody said twins. I read it about twins. What the freak is this guy's problem? That's just like, doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does, but.
And what exactly we are looking at.
A
A separate storage locker was found to be in Mr. Gerlach's possession. That also was in Ephrata. We found there 8 more human remains. Very simply, detectives have recovered an awful lot of bones at this point, and we are still trying to piece together who they are, where they are from, and how many we are looking at, and it's going to be quite some time before we have a final answer. He is now arrested. Bail has been set at $1 million cash by Judge Williams. He is in on 26 counts of burglary, criminal trespass, and a host of other offenses. Kelly Wilson.
Those aren't even the best, or those aren't even the best charges they could put against him. What about desecrating corpses and I mean, there's like a million things. I mean, this guy should never see the light of day. He'll do 7 years.
Handling our media affairs. He's going to pass out a complaint so that you guys have the complete list of charges at your disposal. Very simply, detectives walked into a horror movie come to life the other night, guys. This is an unbelievable scene that no one.
You get the same amount of time as like a bank robber or something.
Involved, from myself,
maybe less,
to the detectives, to the medical examiners that are now trying to piece together what they are looking at, quite literally. None of them have ever seen anything like this before. When I was 16 years old, a friend of mine was killed in a car accident, and I personally have visited his gravesite, as many people do when they lose a loved one. I know his parents have also visited that site. I cannot imagine what it would put them through to know that someone like this guy had dug up those remains and was doing God knows what with them. It is truly, in the most literal sense of the word, horrific. I grieve for those who are upset by this, who are going through it, who are trying to figure out if it is in fact their loved
I was like
one or their child, because we found remains that we believe to be months old infants among those that he had collected. So
that has to be a special charge in and of itself. Well, he was displaying them. They said that there was a partial human remains hanging in his house, like tied under the arms, I believe, hanging. But then he's also selling them. Like he was keeping what he liked which I say with all due respect because he's a freak of epic proportions, and selling the other stuff. He should get life. I mean, there's no in the basement. Sorry,
Our hearts go
even worse.
out to every family that is impacted by this. Some of these are hundreds of years old. We are trying to figure out exactly what we are looking at. We quite simply, at this juncture, are not able to date
Selling to other freaks for money.
and identify all of them.
Now, following this discovery, Jonathan Gerlach was formally charged. According to the Delaware County District Attorney's Office in Pennsylvania, he now faces more than 500 criminal counts, and those charges include 26 counts of burglary for breaking into the mausoleums and vaults, 100 counts of abuse of a corpse, one for each set of remains allegedly found, 100 counts of theft and receiving stolen property for the stolen remains, and multiple counts of desecration of a venerated object, a historic burial place, and a public monument. And now the scope of this alleged collection and how police say it was built is laid out in stark, chilling detail in the search warrant affidavit. So let's start
I don't think you're being insensitive at all.
with how they say he was getting these remains. According to the affidavit, this wasn't a delicate operation. For the underground vaults, he's accused of using broken wooden pallets as makeshift ladders to climb down into crypts that were 10 to 12 feet deep. And he allegedly used pry bars and crowbars to smash through marble seals and casket lids. And he wasn't exactly careful about covering his tracks. Quote, located inside.
So he was taking a crowbar, smashing through these graves, climbing down. Wow.
Side of the Pritchard Mausoleum amongst the debris caused by the damaged cinder block and marble
Of course, he drinks Monster energy drinks.
was a 24-ounce Monster energy drink can. The can still had some liquid inside. Located within the Ogden family plot
And he smokes Marlboro menthol cigarettes. Shocker.
was a partially smoked Marlboro menthol cigarette. A pair of black framed glasses were located on the ground. So it appears
Guy is chugging a Monster energy drink and smoking a Marlboro menthol. Why?
Gerlach, if all of this is true, did not do much to cover his tracks. There was also one black 15-inch hyper tough pry bar that was located on the ground within the Luber family plot. Now, police say they traced one piece of evidence, a black metal tent stake found near a disturbed grave, directly back to Gerlach. According to the warrant, he had shoplifted from an Ace Hardware store on Halloween, October 31st, but he did pay for a few items that day with his credit card. And one of those purchased items, quote, one of the items purchased was listed on the receipt as tent stake steel, 12 inches.
What an idiot.
The detective measured the recovered stake that was located near the Ziegler plot on December 26, 2025, and confirmed that it was, in fact, 12 inches in length. Quote, look into Jonathan Gerlach for the Luzerne County Mausoleum robbery. I know someone who's friends with his family, and they mentioned that they recently discovered a, quote, partially decomposed corpse hanging in his basement, but were afraid to tell police. They suspect he may be behind the Luzerne County Mausoleum robbery, which happened around the same time in early November. The mausoleum was robbed between November 1st and 6th, and Jonathan was charged with shoplifting in East Earl Township on Halloween, October 31st. Now, while not a crime, you will see on his Instagram that he follows accounts in taxidermy, skeleton collecting, and sales oddities, as well as bones, etc. He also disappeared for a few days in November and mentioned that he had been in Chicago selling a human skull.
I mean, like, come on.
But perhaps the most damning digital
In Chicago selling a human skull. First of all, it's not yours, you sick bitch. Second of all, it's disgusting. Third of all, oh my God.
evidence, according to the affidavit, came from his cell phone records and location data. The affidavit states, prior to November 2025, his phone had never pinged near the cemetery. Then, suddenly, it was there repeatedly, overnight, aligning perfectly with the break-ins. Quote, on October 31st, 2025, from 22:30 hours to November 1st, 2025, at 08:50 hours, Gerlach's cell phone was utilizing cellular
Wow. October 31st, November 1st, So he was there on Halloween. Of course he was. Then he went back the next day, 2 days later, 4 days after that, December 23rd, December 24th.
Sources that cover Mount Moriah Cemetery. Quote, on November 3rd, 2025, from 1335 hours to 1706 hours, Gerlach's cell phone was utilizing cell resources that cover 1510 Westminster Road, Plains Township, Pennsylvania. That's the location of another reported mausoleum burglary. So the evidence could stack up here that he could face even more charges, not just for what allegedly happened at Moriah Cemetery and Mausoleum outside Philadelphia. Now, on December 23rd, 2025, from 21:58 hours to December 24th, 2025, at 08:29 hours, Gerlach's cell phone was utilizing cellular resources that cover Mount Moriah Cemetery. Now,
Dude, he was there he was there a long time.
all of this led to the surveillance and arrest.
Once again, the fact that this kind of this shit happens is ridiculous and it's disgusting. But if it's going to happen, I'm glad that somebody that does it is stupid enough to leave all this evidence. Get out. Go on. Get out of here. I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of, dumb criminals that
On January 6th, and after his arrest,
leave evidence.
police say Gerlach made a series of statements that, according to the warrant, amount to a confession. Quote, Gerlach was Mirandized and stated that he removed the human bones from a grave within Mount Moriah Cemetery. Gerlach was later interviewed at Delaware County CID headquarters, where he admitted to stealing approximately 30 sets of human remains from Mount Moriah Cemetery. Gerlach stated that he sold some remains online, but that the vast majority of them were in the basement of his current residence. So let's break down what police say they found, because according to the affidavit, a review of Gerlach's Instagram profile, which we have been blurring, by the way, because of the rules on YouTube and the internet, that the just long list of skulls, and there's even animal skeletons that he has that are all on his Instagram. We have to blur them because those are human remains, and we can't show you those things on social media. It is just, I kind of paused because it was just incredibly chilling to scroll through his Instagram when we were putting this story together. But that profile revealed that he was following 533 accounts. And the most explicit findings, though, they were really on his Facebook page, because detectives located a profile for Gerlach, and more significantly, his membership in that specific group that was called Human Bones and Skulls Selling Group. Now, within this group, detectives say they found a post from October 16th, 2025 from another user, and it's a post which tagged Gerlach stating, quote, mail call yet, as always, LOL, got a possible teen now in the collection, and a baboon and a monkey that was part of a human skin bag. Thanks, NFS. NFS is online marketplace shorthand for not for sale. Joining us now, Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of applied forensics at Jacksonville State University. Always great to have you here on Law and Crime. Wow. This case, just hearing to be a detective and to walk into this man's house in Lancaster County and to see what they say he saw. I know you have seen a lot in your career, and probably, I don't know if anything can keep you up late at night after, just a career of the work that you do. I just, first, before we dive into it, have you ever seen a case like this? Because I can't imagine the detectives, after walking into this home and seeing what they saw, to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, not on this scale. This is, people throw this term around, Chris. I hate to use it, but it's almost industrial scale. When you think about how much time is involved in trying to get these kind of remains. So if you're a detective and you're used to working, I don't know, you think burglaries and theft, this is a theft case at the beginning, but then it gets really, really dark. One of the terrifying things about this to me, I hate basements. and the fact that these police officers would have had to have, from what we're hearing, would have had to have descended down into the basement of this home it's almost like a Silence of the Lambs moment.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it, the horror that was revealed to the closest thing I can think of is this guy's back in the 50s in Plainview, Wisconsin, when they walked into Ed Gein's house and they saw what they beheld before them is something that they couldn't even, it's like, what, am I seeing this right? Am I seeing
Right.
what I think I'm seeing?
Well, and that was it. It's like, it is cliche to be like, it was straight out of a horror movie, and I'm guilty
Yeah.
of using that term or saying it was like a TV show. But this one, truly, when you just hear about what was in the show or
Yeah.
in the home, you're just like, how is this even possible? Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre level, just terror when you think of all these things in. The other part of it too is that, like, we found his Instagram. And we couldn't show the pictures on YouTube because, I mean, they're human remains and there's kind of rules about that. But you just go through, he wasn't allegedly hiding anything. I mean,
No.
this was open market of, hey, I have this, I have that. And then there's this Facebook group that he was part of where people are, it was a public Facebook group. I mean, we looked at it and people are just selling human remains, like bones. Like, is
Yeah.
that legal? I've never seen that, or I guess I've never paid attention to it before, but like, how is there an open, like almost legal market for this type
There's
of
not an open market for it. These things are tightly controlled. We've covered a couple of cases. I know I have on body bags. You guys may have at Long Crime because these things went to trial. Are you familiar with these cases like where there are funeral homes that are
Wasn't this guy on McDonough's show before? I thought I heard him. I thought I'd seen him on there before.
dismembering bodies and they're selling the parts for medical research that are out there? I think there was like one I know of in Colorado, but the way this differs is that that's like fresh tissue, when you think about that. And, we use anatomical specimens in order to study human anatomy. Obviously, even here at Jack State, I have a human anatomy lab that I use for my medical legal classes, and I have human remains. But those are sourced through a very specific controlled environment. You're talking about an individual that he's obviously fancies himself an entrepreneur, right? He's going to go out and essentially rob graves. One of the images that came to mind was, and forgive me because I like visiting graveyards. I'm from New Orleans originally. So if you ever get the chance to go to New Orleans, one of the things that you do down there are cemetery tours. And there's a lot of beauty in them, particularly the mausoleums. And I'm thinking, this guy, if he is, has this entrepreneurial bent to him, when he walks into, and I'm thinking about the Mount Moriah cemetery, dude, it's like walking into a big box store for him. Just think about that, because now he's reduced the grief, the horror, the loneliness, all of this stuff that these families experienced, maybe going back to all the way to the 1850s. Mount Moriah was established in the 1850s. It's a Victorian era cemetery. He's taken all that and monetized it. Just let that sink in just for a second. And that, again, is one piece to this that's beyond kind of like the horror narrative. This gets into literally flesh trade at this point in time.
Yeah.
Where you're benefiting off of this exchange that's going on. The fact that they were so bold that they're going to have this on Facebook. You got to be kidding me, man. And apparently no one was batting an eye at it initially.
No, and I think too of just how brazen this is, not just the selling allegedly of these bones and skulls and all the different things that he had and other people online as well. But since he is facing the charges for this, Gerlach, at the scene they found like a half-drank Monster. They found like a Marlboro cigarette. Like, he did not hide the fact that he was doing this. And I don't know, if he felt like it was something that people weren't going to pick up on it or track him down to it, or maybe it wasn't a big deal. He thought in his own weird way. I don't know, but it's like he didn't hide any part of this. And the question too, for me, is like, I think of these families, and there are some remains that are 200 years old that he allegedly stole, but then there's also the remains of infant children from modern time
Yeah.
How do you now sift through, like, what is the science behind figuring out who these people are and
Yeah.
how you get the families the remains back?
Yeah, this is a big piece to this, Chris, and it is, it's a fight. We've had other cases in the past. I'm thinking right now, and I urge everybody within the sound of my voice to check out this case. It's the Tri-County crematory case out of Georgia that involved three separate Tri-County or Tri-State, I'm sorry, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and this was a crematory.
Well, I'm going to show you something really quick. Look at this. This is some of the crap that he did and just leaves it. I mean, there's no respect for wow. Just look at that. Just breaking in. This one of the up there says 1868 to 1939. Wow. Look at that. What a freak. What an absolute shithead. Maybe I'll look at more in a minute.
Where a guy was, literally not cremating remains. He was allowing the remains to decompose on his property and giving back families burned wood and ash and gravel in a sealed thing. And so they still have cases, this is back in the 90s, I think, or the early 2000s, where some of those remains are unidentified. How much more so with a case like this? Because you've got these kind of remains that go back, like I stated, perhaps all the way to the 1850s. Okay. And then you have modern cases. I think that this is going to be a big area. This is just my opinion, a big area where forensic genetic genealogy could actually play a role. There was a case that we covered on body bags that Othram handled, involving, it was called the Lady in the Well case. And this lady had gone missing in just after World War I, and they recovered skeletal remains down in this well. She had been a murder victim, and I think that the police showed, and this is in Toronto, I think, police showed up at her granddaughter's home and said, "Are you related to this person?" And it turned out she was. They did a genetic match there. But he's got so many remains, Chris, that this is going to be a Herculean effort on the part of whoever's going to get them identified. The first thing that you're going to have to do is go to all of these little sites. And I don't buy into, they're saying that this may have begun back in November. I ain't buying that. I think that this guy he's very comfortable with this. I would suspect that they're probably tracking back to wherever he's been domiciled before, or if there are any other similar burglaries. It kind of sounds weird to say that about a graveyard, right? Burglary / thefts in other associated graveyards, or maybe he's got people that are involved with him, because this is, this is like a land rush, man. I mean, you get in here and people feel comfortable robbing graves. So you're going to have this commingling of remains. You talked about, how he's kind of storing these bodies. Well, were the bodies intact when he got them? Was there still any remnant of tissue, clothing?
That's another thing. Like,
that were holding the bodies in place to a certain degree in an intact state, or is everything gone? You're just talking about multiple skeletal remains. Well, how do you treat these? Because, for instance, if we're recovering a body, myself, along with, forensic anthropologists out in the field, we're very, very careful about excavating the scene and getting every tiny little skeletal remnant, and we keep that contained. That guy is not interested in keeping things contained. It's like, hey, you want a human femur? I've got 6 to choose from. I've got 7 to choose from. Oh, and check out all the skulls that I have, because apparently there are a bunch of skulls that he has, and so it's not like he's keeping all the stuff together. He's sourcing the stuff to have customers. Okay.
Right.
And what's missing as well, how much other stuff has he sold that's circulating out there?
Because I wonder too, if he was selling to people out of state in Pennsylvania and you're crossing state lines in a very
Yeah.
weird and twisted way,
Yeah.
like that's an interstate commerce, which would be a federal charge.
Oh yeah. Allegedly, I'm hearing, I'm assuming you're hearing the same thing. There's apparently a trip that's involved where he goes to Chicago, and to sell a skull. All right. I don't know how that went down specifically, but just the fact that he stole something like this, and and he's in possession of it, he gets in his vehicle, drives across, how much ever geographical area separates him from his home in Pennsylvania, and hands it. I can't imagine he's only doing this for a couple of $100, right? You're going to blow your profit margin. Okay.
Right.
Just the trip itself. Let's say he makes $1,000 off of it. Well, that's worth the gas money. Plus he's now got somebody in Chicago that says, hey man, I got a skull from a guy in Pennsylvania. Anybody in the group here need anything else? Because he's our guy. And that kind of escalates and it goes out exponentially. I have all kinds of fears that are associated with this, because I'm wanting to know if this is a singular event, if this guy is isolated, or if there's a whole group. And going back to the Facebook thing, is there a whole group of people that are engaged
There's got to be a whole group of people.
in this ghastly commerce?
Obviously, there's a market for it, which is disgusting and beyond belief.
It's absolutely horrific. And yeah, you bet your bottom dollar the feds are interested in this. They're going to be taking a long, long look at this guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was as we were putting the story together, the court document said like, oh, this was the Facebook group he was a part of. And then it was like, oh, let me just, search this on Facebook. And then it was like, I can't believe that this is actually a real thing. And there are, I know on one of his posts on his Instagram, he allegedly wrote that he was like, it was ethically sourced was the term that he used. And it's like, where would you even ethically source something like that? And clearly, if all of this is true, it was not ethically sourced.
Does ethically sourced involve a crowbar in a graveyard? And
Does ethically sourced involve human remains and stealing people's bones from their final resting place?
a burlap sack? It doesn't sound
A burlap sack. Of course, it was a burlap sack.
like anything. It doesn't sound like anything relative that you could frame it out that way, because this is what's the term people use? This is bad optics, because when he was actually nabbed, and this had been this had been going on for a while, and the police had taken notice of it. Obviously, there have been complaints and reports and all this stuff. There's this one law enforcement officer, that's kind of staking this thing out. I think that they may have had cameras added, by the way. He sees this guy in the midst of this event, and he finds him with a burlap sack, which is terrifying for some reason on one level to me.
Yeah.
And walking out of a graveyard. I think he's got a screwdriver. He's got a crowbar. Here's something else that people might find interesting. Did you know there's a whole classification within the canon of most criminal law in states that actually identifies what we're referred to as burglary tools? And so you'll have this come up. It came up in Ted Bundy's case, for instance, because he had a set of burglary tools. And these things might be things that we have in our garage at home and whatnot, but you're carrying a crowbar, a large screwdriver. Those things are meant to pry with. Okay. Well, he's left a whole chain of evidence behind as well, because if that is his crowbar that he's utilizing, it's going to have striations on it. They're going to transfer to these mausoleum doors. For instance, if you have to pry these things open, some of these things have not been unlocked in years and years and years. And then he's going to get into the mausoleum itself and see the individual crypts. Now, I'm just kind of throwing this out there. you have to get the facing off the crypt itself. So is he also using a crowbar to pry this thing open?
Oh my.
And then are there casketed remains within there? I'm going to be very fascinated to find out what the interior of this mausoleums look like. Was it a kind of an ordered event, or did he just go about smashing the entire side of it to gain access to the bodies as quickly as he possibly can? And then everything, the debris is just kind of lying there, and he will have left a forensic footprint, if you will, in very generalized terms,
Yeah.
behind in all of this. And then you can connect methodologies here. You know, he likes to use a pry bar, you know, just like any other burglar, you know, pry bar, crowbar. He's going to do something with a screwdriver.
I've never heard of such shit.
And then not to mention any kind of tools that are involved in how he's handling the bodies, you know, once he gets them back to his home. Kind of tempted to use the word lair here. Lair, you know, kind of evil. You know, you're going back to this location. What are you doing with these bones? Because there have been people out there over the years. There's been a number of cases where they'll do ornamental, decorative stuff on bones themselves, and they will sell them. You know, famously things like sterling silver. They'll put coatings on them. They'll make vessels out of them, you know, for drinking and eating and all these sorts of things. Because look, you might think that sounds absurd, dude. Nothing's absurd at this point. Okay, when you're thinking about this guy going into a cemetery and literally robbing these graves.
And I think too, it just goes back to the Monster Energy drink that was there and the Marlboro cigarette, and like, if this was a show, and so, you know, to kind of make the movie reference again, you'd be like, no criminal would be this.
He's probably one of those dudes that drink the white ones, you know, like the white Monster Energy drinks too. He looks like a dude that would drink the white Monster. I've never drank a Monster Energy drink in my life, but I certainly wouldn't be drinking one of the, you know, one of those white. Like, I stay away from people that drink those. I don't know why. There's something about those ones specifically. The black ones don't bother me as much, but the white Monster Energy drinks bother the shit out of me. I couldn't tell you why. I wish I could.
Brazen to do this so out in the open.
I'd like to see that Monster Energy drink. I bet it's a white one.
But apparently that's what he was doing, according to investigators. One other part too for me, and like this is where it does get kind of morbid, but I think of like how did he live in this house with the smell and just the chemicals that must have been in the air if he is taking bodies and even their bones at that point and then having them in his house. Because there were some on the Instagram, and like, I don't know how to phrase this in a way, but it's like there's hair still on some of the parts that were there. I don't know how else to kind of put it in a way that doesn't give you like make your skin crawl, but it's like, how does he live in this home? Yeah.
People need to be aware of what we're talking about here. You can't shy away from that. That's the reality of this. And, you know, before I get into that, just let me state, this could be any one of our kinfolks, any one of our loved ones, people that, you know, took care of us when we were little.
Yeah.
Think about how horrible that is. Your grandma, your grandpa, whoever it is. And this guy is utilizing these remains, you know, for his own gain at this point in time. So back to the home. The home is a big piece to this. When you think about, if you're just talking about the home as a storage facility, one of the problems.
Yeah, it's not the energy drinks that I have a problem with. It's not even Monster. It's the white Monster Energy drinks that bother me. I don't know. I see somebody chugging one of those, and I just go.
That people don't realize with these old burials is that years ago, when bodies were first being embalmed and that sort of thing, guess what they used to embalm bodies with? Heavy metals.
Yeah.
So those things have incredible half-lives on them. So he's going into this environment and he's prying these things open. He's collecting these remains, which are, by the way, potentially contaminated with heavy metals. He's bringing them into his home, into the basement, mind you. Okay. And whoever lives around him is subject to contamination as well. And I don't think that's even I don't. I think that's easily considered here. Because he's
I don't know.
exposing everybody else. Not to mention, let's just say he has purchasers.
I have no idea. Nothing. They just, I don't know. They just bother me more than, I don't know. There's something just douche canoe about drinking one of those. I don't know why.
That are coming down.
Like if a lady drinks, it's probably not a big deal, but
Down into his basement, come and see my wares. They're being exposed to this and they don't think about this sort of thing. If he's doing anything with those bones, by the way, relative to carving them, etching them in any way, he's creating all this.
it's like I like UFC. Like I watch UFC, not like religiously or anything like that. But if you're wearing like a UFC shirt and you're drinking a white Monster Energy drink,
Almost like a histamine in the air with the bone dust that's contaminated. All right. So we talked about the FBI, right? Guess who else is going to be interested in this? The EPA. Because if you go back to the tri-state crematory case, the EPA was all over that case. They were worried about contaminated groundwater up there. All right. Because this stuff is like, it's really insidious when you think about it, and everybody's being exposed. There's also supposed to be a storage unit involved in this. So he's storing remains in a storage unit, and we've all been in one of these damn things. You think that it's all sealed up and everything else. Well, everybody that's
it's
approximating
zero caffeine, it's zero
the
sugar,
specimens
which bothers me too. I don't know that makes it somehow that makes it worse.
in there, their stuff and that environment runs a risk of being contaminated as well. Do you see how this thing kind of replicates itself?
Yeah.
And for every remain that you pull out of there, you're running the risk of contamination. So this is much broader than
Dead daddy.
say, for instance, just somebody selling a human bone. Okay. This is about grave robbery. It's about exposing the public to.
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna go drink a Monster Energy drink and break into some graves, bro. Come on, Ethan. Come on, Sean. Let's do it. Douchebag.
Potential
Then we'll go play some heavy metal afterwards. Yeah.
chemical harm here, because you don't know what's going on, how these bodies were preserved, what chemical concoction that was used to facilitate this. I mean, it's stuff that we still worry about today. And now he's going back to when things were really, really toxic. He's cracking these graves open and exposing not just himself, but everybody, potential customers, and
Potential customers.
certainly his neighbors as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this, and it's
Yeah.
just I think at the core of it is, I just feel for the families to find
I do
out
too.
if, to get that call that I'm sure that's just a feeling that
Yeah, bro, we'll smoke a menthol together, Camel Crush, and I got some Marlboro Lights.
that'd be hard to describe, and I hope they get justice in a case like this. Professor of Applied Forensics at Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan. What a story. This one
We'll go listen to some Hoobastank after, bro.
is. I'm sure it's not the last time
Take off as a douchebag, sick bastard.
we'll talk about it. Thanks for being with us.
You bet, Chris. Take
Thanks, Joseph.
Jonathan Gerlach
Dead daddy.
remains behind bars on a $1 million bond. He does have a preliminary hearing scheduled for later this month.
How about 20 million? Now, let me play this really quick. How about no bail for Frico? I would never think to do something like this ever. I mean, I've had a lot of weird thoughts before, like, I don't know, like hitting a golf ball off of a roof while my friend stands on the next house over trying to hit him with the golf ball while he tries to evade but has to stay on the roof and firing golf balls at him over and over. But like, you know, and even back then I was like, man, this is kind of messed up. That's really the extent. The fact that they don't have cemetery cameras don't have or cameras don't have, cemeteries don't have cameras in general, it doesn't make any sense either. That he did this. Yeah, I think so. I think it's perfectly normal. Like, yeah, it's just like an everyday thing. It was a lot of fun. I got him too. I got him right in the ass. Like on the, well, it was like in the upper like hamstring. And then the whole point was like, yeah, don't fall off, don't fall off the roof when you get hit. Best $20 I ever spent. Let me see. I don't think I'm done with this guy. The bone collector. What a fucking weirdo. CBS 21.
Tonight, police removing the disturbing remains from a Lancaster County house.
Wow.
CBS 21 learning new details about the man accused of robbing graves. A man police say had more than 100 sets of human remains in his home. Who they say was selling some of those bones. We're learning more about Jonathan Gerlach and who he was in life and the investigation that's led to his arrest. Good evening and thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Alex Thill. Today we got a hold of the search warrant explaining what led police to this grisly discovery in Ephrata. We have live team coverage with the latest in this case. Let's start with Lily Sexton. So Lily, you broke down a 19-page warrant. What can you tell us?
That's right.
All right, Lily Sexton, we have a really cool thing for you to cover tonight. We got the grave robber, the dead daddy himself, Jonathan Gerlach.
The Lancaster County man is accused of stealing body parts from a cemetery outside of Philly and returning several times, storing the body parts at this storage facility here, as well as his home.
I don't know how you wouldn't have cameras, but I mean, the place is huge too.
And the search warrant claims that he sold the rest online.
After 30 years now, I can say this is probably the most horrific thing that I've seen. And again, to the families, as the district attorney pointed out, we all have loved ones that passed. Like, rest in peace is rest in peace. And this is definitely something that tears at your heartstrings.
When police executed the search warrant, they said they found over 100 human skulls, numerous long bones, mummified human feet and hands, 2 decomposing.
Everything about him is bothersome. The Monster energy drinks, the Marlboro menthols, the hair, the friggin' cow ring in his nose, his Instagram handle,
human torsos, and other assorted skeletal items. Documents obtained by CBS 21 say Jonathan Gerlach is connected to multiple grave robberies where they say he...
My name's Jonathan Gerlach, dude, and I rob graves for a living. I'm serious, dude. If this was one of my family, I'd be so pissed off. I'd be sick to my stomach. It's just like, why would somebody do this?
When police
You don't respect anything. At that point, you respect nothing. Yeah, he's probably got a Prince Albert, probably disrespected his Johnson, I hope he got infected.
executed the search warrant, they said they found over 100 human skulls, numerous long bones, mummified human feet and hands, 2 decomposing human torsos, and other assorted skeletal items. Documents obtained by CBS 21 say Jonathan Gerlach is connected to multiple grave robberies where they say he left DNA evidence behind. Police also credit a tipster who sent a message to Lancaster police claiming to have heard about a, quote, partial composing in Gerlach's basement. A local officer who helped execute the search warrant said even with all the evidence they collected, they didn't expect a discovery as shocking as this.
No, I don't believe that we had an idea of exactly. I mean, there were certainly there was some information that led us to believe that there would be evidence there, but and to a certain extent, but not to the extent that was discovered.
Gerlach was allegedly caught with remains on him on Tuesday, leading to his arrest. For now, we're live in Lancaster County. Lily Sexton, CBS 21 News.
But a horror movie come to life. That's how detectives describe this Lancaster County home. And
I don't know. Obviously, he doesn't have a problem doing illegal stuff, so I'm sure that there's a black market for menthol cigarettes. I don't know. Maybe in Pennsylvania they're legal still. I don't think they're legal in California either.
just today, authorities removed some disturbing discoveries. A man named Jonathan Gerlach is being charged after more than 100 stolen skeletons were found here. We have team coverage on this story today with CBS 21's Lily Sexton piecing through the search warrant and Maxine Rose speaking to a former friend who is shedding light on the suspect's past. It's 5:30. I'm Alex Thill. And we're now learning Gerlach was allegedly selling some of those human remains. So let's get right into it. Lily, what evidence did police have against him before this arrest?
They had been collecting evidence against him for a while now. They were able to get physical DNA evidence from the scene of where the graves were robbed. They also were able to collect information from his social media where he's being tagged in people speaking about buying and selling these human remains from him. They also said that Lancaster police got a tip. This is all explained in the search warrant. They received a tip from someone that remained anonymous saying that a family friend that she heard through the grapevine that there is a hanging human corpse in his basement, and that did end up being true after they were able to execute this.
I mean, that's wild.
Search warrant.
Wow. And Maxine, speaking of those friends, I know you.
Absolutely wild.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanner Rouse. I'm the District Attorney of Delaware County, and we are here today because of the arrest of 34-year-old Jonathan Gerlach of Ephrata, Pennsylvania. Over the course of the last several weeks,
I think all cigarettes are like $9 a pack.
detectives from Yeadon Borough as well as Delaware County CID became aware that from
Honestly, I don't even know how people afford cigarettes.
November of 2025 up until 2 days ago, January of 2026, Mount Moriah Cemetery had been.
I mean, is it that far of a stretch to think that somebody that would do this kind of stuff maybe possibly could end up killing people in the future or have in the past?
Been burglarized by, at that point, an unknown individual. 26 separate mausoleums and or underground burial sites had been torn into and, for lack of a better word, desecrated. Investigation took place. Yeadon deserves a hell of a lot of credit on this for doing good old-fashioned police work, going through LPRs, tracking physical evidence, piecing together a suspect, cooperating with CID. We developed that suspect, we laid in wait, and we eventually watched and caught Mr. Gerlach as he desecrated yet another monument as recently as 2 days ago.
Can you imagine? This is you're on a stakeout at a grave site, like at a graveyard, and you're waiting for this shit bag to go and rob a grave, and then you have to confront him, check his bag to make sure that that's what he was doing.
He's taken into custody. Search warrants were executed at his home in Ephrata, where over 100 human skeletons were recovered. And that's in part, at this point, we are...
Scully and Mueller would be pissed if they got that assignment. Can you imagine the dude from Blue Bloods having to sit outside of a friggin' graveyard?
Still trying to figure out how many of those are complete and what exactly we are looking at. A separate storage locker was found to be in Mr. Gerlach's possession. That also was in Ephrata. We found there 8 more human remains. Very simply, detectives have recovered an awful lot of bones at this point, and we are still trying to piece together who they are, where they are from, and how many we are looking at, and it's going to be quite some time before we have a final answer. He is now arrested. Bail has been set at $1 million cash by Judge Williams. He is in on 26 counts of burglary, criminal trespass, and a host of other offenses. Kelly Wilson, who's handling our media affairs, is going to pass out a complaint so that you guys have the complete list of charges at your disposal. Very simply, detectives walked into a horror movie come to life the other night, guys. This is an unbelievable scene that no one involved, from myself to the detectives to the medical examiners that are now trying to piece together what they are looking at, quite literally. None of them have ever seen anything like this before. When I was 16 years old, a friend of mine was killed in a car accident, and I personally have visited his gravesite, as many people do when they lose a loved one.
He's only had one friend pass away.
I know his parents have also
terrible.
visited that site. I cannot imagine what it would put them through to know that someone like this guy had dug up those remains and was doing God knows what with them. It is truly, in the most literal sense of the word, horrific.
Shithead, disgusting bastard, freako, weirdo, idisology.
I grieve for those who are upset by this, who are going through it, who are trying to figure out if it is in fact their loved one or their child, because we found remains that we believe to be months-old infants among those that he had collected. So our hearts go out to every family that is impacted by this. Some of these are hundreds of years old. We are trying to figure out exactly what we are looking at. We quite simply at this juncture are not able to date and identify all of them. I want to make some thank yous here because this was truly a collaborative effort. As you guys can imagine, this spanned from here to Lancaster County. The Ephrata Police Department was instrumental in gaining access to and executing that search warrant. Philadelphia Police Department was cooperative. This is Mount Moriah Cemetery, and that spans Yeadon Borough into Philadelphia. We cooperation. This was obviously an overnight job. There's a lot that needs to be done to collect Yeadon before we take questions.
Thank you very much, Tanner, District Attorney Tanner Rouse. Just want to say this was quite a heinous act, very depraved. I've never heard anything like this. It defies logic or comprehension. And as the District Attorney just stated, it's something literally out of a horror movie. When you have your loved ones interred, you respect their remains, you respect them into perpetuity.
All right. Well, that's it for me tonight, guys. I will catch you, I don't know, another time. Have a good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lab After Dark is starting shortly. After Dark is starting soon. Lab After Dark is starting soon.
Right. Well, you opened that Pandora's door.
I was actually just sitting down to pee, but whatever, you know.
What's the point in causing the eruption?
Lab After Dark starts now.